Greetings. Frederick Riddle here with another Christian news and views. Today's episode is episode 143, and this is Wednesday, and we're looking at the Gulf of America, Greenland, and Canada. Now, if you remember, back in 20, well, actually, when was it? Probably 24 when President Trump started talking about Greenland and Canada. It was also early in his presidency that he renamed the Gulf uh, of America as he named it as the Gulf of America. The renaming of it and all the other things are, well, they come under a world court decision. And there's an article that I've come across, and it's very interesting, and I think it's worth reading. And so I'm going to read it to you and see if you can agree or disagree with them on this. But here it is. In December 2023, there was a decision by the World Court that gave water above land shelves to those countries and ruled they were not international water. The renaming of the Gulf of America is renaming the area above our land shelves as our territory. So for legal reasons, we need to identify these new changes on the map so that new borders are made clear to maritime traffic. Those new maps will set the latitude and longitudes of where our border begins or the Gulf of America begins. So all maritime traffic knows when they are leaving international waters. So let me just pause there a moment. This is a world court decision. And when President Trump did the renaming and stuff of that nature, it was all in response to that decision. It was not his ego or anything of that nature, but rather he was making a very practical decision that the media chose to make fun of. That's not news, really. That's daily facts. Now we get to the idea of buying Greenland and possibly Canada has nothing to do with Trump's ego either. It has to do with the race for minerals in the Arctic Ocean, protecting our borders and getting us the legal right to help other nations protect their borders. This is sort of in line with what's going on in Ukraine. This is not part of the article. This is my own thoughts here. Because over in Ukraine, again, they have minerals that we in the United States don't have. And so Trump is trying to, and has apparently successfully negotiated with Ukraine to be able to get access, even dominating the access to it some degree, for use here in the United States for things electronics and stuff of that nature. We're such a sophisticated world we live in today, puts a high value on those minerals. And we're not the only country seeking to have access. So this is a smart move. But the idea of buying Greenland or buying Canada has nothing to do with ego, anybody's ego at this point. It has to do with very practical consideration. So what their argument is if Greenland is a territory of the United States, then we have the legal right to have a base there and to protect the waters around Greenland. So if we have the legal right to protect Greenland, then any response to defend our territory is not considered an act of war. Whereas if they're independent and we decide to go to defend them, that could trigger a war. That's the way the theory goes. So they're trying to get ahead of the game, so to speak. It makes it easier to help our allies. And so that is one of the things. In Canada, well, there we have a treaty with Canada, so I'm not sure why that we would have to do this. Like he wants to buy Canada, he actually wants to make Canada the 51st state. Going to get in my opinion here on that. I just don't think that's going to happen. So here's my opinion. This has been a very interesting article. It reaffirms some of what I've already knew and have talked to you about before, but it did add some new phases to it, some new perspectives and so forth. So although it is a very practical article, it still doesn't mean that any of this is going to happen. Let's take just a little closer look at it from my opinion. What the article means, in my opinion, is that the United States is seeking to protect its own territory and mineral rights from Russia and or China, and other countries for that matter, but those are the two primaries. Now, I understand their motivation. It makes sense to protect our mineral rights, our access to them. We have a country, and President Trump has come up with some plans on which to protect them. I understand the motivation. But when all is said and done, I still find it hard to believe that the people of Greenland or Canada would agree to be under the jurisdiction and sovereignty of the United States. Let's take a minute. Okay, Greenland. Greenland has a very small population. They're kind of isolated from the rest of the world. They probably like that idea. They have their own government. The government over in Europe, they're a Commonwealth. They're allowed a lot of freedom as to how they run their government. They have their own government and everything, and they've won some degree of independence, and so they're very happy with what they have. Let's take a look at Canada. Well, now Canada is a Commonwealth of, in this case, Commonwealth of the United Kingdom. For all purposes, they're independent. They have their own military, their own army, their own navy, their own air force, their own police. It's true that they still honor in this case, the king. And as a part of the Commonwealth, internationally speaking, I think the United Kingdom still has control there. But even so, Canada has some broad leeway. And so again, the people like it. On top of that, Canada is a socialistic country. We are capitalists. The two don't mix. We've had liberals here in the United States to try to make us into socialists, and we have rejected that. So those two things don't mix. So I really find it hard to believe that anybody in Greenland or Canada would want to come under the jurisdiction and sovereignty of the United States. They're happy with what they have. That said, it would seem to suggest that it might be in Greenland's and possibly Canada's favor if some kind of treaty or other arrangement could be made that gives the United States the right to defend them, the right to, if they move troops in, not to run the country, not to somehow dominate the country, but to be an umbrella of protection. Now, I questioned this earlier in regards to Canada. We have defense treaties with Canada. And we don't really have anything like that with Greenland that I know of, but still, we could. So why not try to work out a military agreement there? Maybe that's the ultimate goal, and to talk about territory and talk about a statehood. It may be only put something on the table to negotiate away from. Whatever the thinking is, the idea, I kind of think I'm in favor of the idea of some kind of a trade and defense package that the United States could work out with Greenland and maybe even work out with Canada. But this will have to be negotiated. And so that's it as far as today goes. I really wanted to touch on this base. It came up today in the news, and I thought, you know what? I think I really want to attack that, or at least not attack it so much as express it to you. I wanted you to be aware of this thinking, and at least you have an understanding of why President Trump is making these moves. You're not getting this in the local news media. And this has to do with the land that's underwater as being part of the territory of the country. And it has to do with mineral access to minerals that countries need. That is why that's going on. Well, if you like this channel, I want to invite you to subscribe to it right down here. And you just click on there, you can subscribe to it. And then when you do that, I promise you that I will do all my power to create episodes that inform you, encourage you, and inspire you. The news is not really what you call inspiring, but that's my goal, is to give you the news from a Christian and a conservative viewpoint, and give you the opportunity, if you want to discuss it, you want to disagree or even agree, come on and share your thoughts. I'd be delighted to discuss them with you, and maybe even they might make their way onto one of my episodes. Well, you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next episode.